Hello, I'm Neogetz and welcome back to Space Engineers. Today's task is to start building the space station, so off camera, between the last episode and this one, I took this little shuttle out, found some of the debris from the very first ship we tried to capture, the one that exploded on us, took apart most of it, brought what was left over here so that we have plenty of supplies. So while it's not an amazing amount, it's plenty to get started with on building a space station. So I'm just going to move this guy a little bit nearer to where we need him. So if I head just over this lip nearer to the yellow mining vessel, as this is around where we're planning to have the station. Now you may notice the landing pads are blue at the moment. That means that they're on auto connect, which is a new option that was added recently. As soon as they get into proximity of something, they lock. You can set a force in the settings to choose at which point they will break off. So if I find the landing gear here, brake force unlimited means that it will always try to stay on. But if I change that down to something much lower, so let's say just a few newtons in them, so let's get those right down, and then try and take off, I will, no problem. But while within range of anything, it'll just at least hold me sort of somewhere useful. So very cool. I'm going to set that back to unlimited though, because for the moment I don't actually want this guy being able to move if I accidentally fly into him. And something interesting you can now show is the centre of mass of your vehicle, which will give you a bit of a better idea of how it will perform when you set it off, if you know what this is. It's also very important as the enemy vessels that fly around actually target the centre of your mass. So there is a way to avoid getting your ship destroyed by building a sort of donut, making sure that that targeting point is actually off camera. Not off camera, sorry, hollow off your ship, doesn't actually affect anything, so that's where they will be aiming for. So very useful, but feels a little bit cheaty for use in survival, so not going to be using it. But let's get some items in our inventory and then we can start looking at making a nice space station. Okay, so couldn't quite take as many as I hoped to. Let's put back 90 of them, as we also want a few of those. So there we go, nice and full inventory, and somewhere around here is where I want to start building. So I'm going to just go for around here, choose new station and start placing the framework. So we need to pick a direction that will be classed as upright. I don't know if I can rotate this. No, this is fixed to the global grid. There is no choice as to what the angle will be. So let's have a look and possibly just go for, I don't know, that way up could be quite good. So let's do that, get this somewhere that it will click. And there we go, we now have the very start of the station. I do know the rough size I want this station to be, so I'm just going to count this out quickly. It's going to be a 13 by 13 square, I'm hoping, so don't think we can go much further this way. So let's just add that up. So it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and get down again. Oop, 12, 13, 1, 2, 3, oops, missed, sorry, 3, 4, and then just finish it off, 5, 6, come on, 7, 8, oh gosh, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That should be correct now, so we have a nice little base to start worrying about. Shouldn't need to count the rest now, as I can just line it all up, although at some point I probably should mark the central points. I've tried in the past to get drawing with lines and planes working in survival, but it really doesn't seem willing to do that, so unfortunately I have to do this block by block, which is slightly more frustrating, not great for the video making, but unfortunately required. So not worrying about the colours at the moment, just going to start building the station. Colours are something that I will address in the future, probably off camera, so every chance next episode we'll log in and I'll have set up some colours. So let's fill in the centre of this while I discuss that commercial freighter quickly that's coming up on us. Now, last episode I mentioned that I didn't know if commercial freighters had guns, but thought they might not. Turns out they do. If it doesn't disappear off our screens, once I finish this plane, I will fuel up my jetpack and head over there just to show you what happens if you try that. It's not going to go well for me. I've never successfully approached one. There's a sort of way to do it without a ship that involves sitting yourself in the path of them while not actually anywhere near, and then stopping all movement, because they fire based on anything moving over around 2 meters a second. I'm not certain of the exact number they trigger on, but it's something over 2 meters a second, and so then they just start firing away, and if you're not in a ship, very quickly kill you. If you are in a ship, light armor blocks are incredibly quickly ripped through, so always incredibly difficult to actually do anything with them. But they do contain a nice lot of stuff, the commercial freighters. But if a private shipment or a business shipment come up on the screen, those we will definitely aim for, as those are unarmed and quite easy to get a hold of and generally don't seem to be trapped. The commercial freighters I think also have traps, so let's just quickly place a few important blocks that are needed as markers for the design I have in mind of this bit of station, and then we'll empty our inventory and deal with things. Now, there's a private sale that's just appeared. That's very good, because that's one of the ones that we can go for, but that should stay on screen for quite a while, so we'll still aim to have a look at the commercial freighter first and see what we can do that way. Now, where did I leave it? Down here. Let's pick up this guy and then possibly actually move him up on top of the station that we're building, just for ease. You may notice that the auto locking temporarily disables itself when you unlock, just gives you a chance to set the vehicle in motion a little bit before it causes you any trouble relocking on. Now, this shouldn't cause me any major issues just sitting there. It's only broken one block, that's not a concern at the moment, and it won't be in the way of any of the design I'll be working on. So I'm just checking my suit, but that's full, so I'm just going to drop off my inventory and then see if both ships are still around. If so, we will head out. So we've got the private sale there. Have I lost the commercial one off my screen? Every chance I have. I'm blind to it if it's still around. Let's just get back into the sort of position we were in when we could see it. Appears to have disappeared, so that's unfortunate. I won't be able to show you what happens when I head out towards one of those, but let's head over to this private sale that we should have no issues capturing, and they're a nice little ship. Not overly useful, quite slow to move, but you know, nice ships to have, so no problems there. We'll just grab onto it and see what we can do. So we've maxed out our speed at the moment. We'll whack our dampeners back on as we get nearer. It's a bit further out than I'd normally head towards one, but at 100 odd meters a second you actually catch up rather quickly, so shouldn't be too much trouble, other than the fact I'm always off course when I head over to these things. Starting out further, a bit more off course than normal, but let's get within a reasonable range before we put the dampeners on in order to deal with that, and then head down in a slightly more intercepty path. So let's do that and see what we can do, hopefully not taking too long. Private sales tend to have a distinct lack of useful items on them. Really not a lot to them, but they make a very useful base ship. I'd like to convert one of these into a drilling ship. That's the plan I've got in mind. How that actually plays out, I won't know until I get sort of more materials under my belt, but for the moment, just going to be happy to actually get my hands on it. So let the dampeners take over a second and then we will catch up. Let's see, there we go. We're just catching up on it now. Hopefully I won't hit it too hard. Have killed myself several times crashing into these vessels, so fingers crossed. There we go. Don't seem to have too much speed, so we should be absolutely fine. Let's get inside now. So very simple with these things. As long as your dampeners are off, shouldn't have any problems getting in. Only issue I have with these is it's sometimes a little hard to find the point where you can access the cockpit. So dampeners are on, and this thing is now under our control. Quite a lot of quick movement. If I stop moving a moment, you may notice fuel time says 0 seconds. That actually just means that it's using nothing but solar power. So when I move around and cause the dampeners to be needed or anything, it'll start using actual fuel, and that will then just tell us what it's up to, actual fuel time wise. So now we've got a bit of speed under us, not a lot unfortunately. As I said, these are quite slow little vehicles, not a lot to them, but I do like using them as a base for other things. So let's keep that speed there and have a look at what we've got. 10 uranium, the main reason I actually came out for this thing, and a couple of useless things. So really not that much, although there's also all the components of the solar panels there, because I'm not a big fan of them. They require sitting in the sun. In worlds where the asteroids are turned on, not the greatest thing. Although if you're not actually sat still all the time, the risk of being taken out by asteroids isn't humongous, but because I spend so much time hiding from the sun, not the most useful thing in the world. And solar panels really don't create enough power for running your refineries and everything, so not much use for me at all. But we're on our way home, heading in. Shouldn't take too much longer, and then I will place the basic framework of the items that I want to place on this early bit of platform, and then do a little jump cut to show you it built. I'm just going to skip the actual welding bit, as I said last episode. Not going to make you sit through all the welding of everything that I try and place, so that should speed up quite a lot, and then that'll probably be the end of the episode. And between this episode and next episode, I will actually complete that section of the space station a bit further, so that hopefully next episode we can focus on the edit I want to make to the spawn shuttle. That big ship is quite a nice ship, but those machines really are a little too exposed to be useful, so I prefer to get them off that ship onto the station. They're what I'm going to pull apart to build the new refinery and assembler. Just going to take them off the starting ship we had, and then hopefully turn it into something a little more useful. Thinking of adding a couple of heavy armor blocks to it, just for sake of being able to take on the weapons fire that will no doubt come at us, but fingers crossed, not too much trouble. So there we go. We're getting within range now, so I've slowed us down a bit. Don't want us to take too much damage crashing into everything on the way in. I'm not sure how much longer that beacon's going to keep running, but while we've got the unnamed shuttle, I'll just turn it on if we need to in the future for keeping track of where we are, so that won't actually be a major issue, as I'll just check that it's running once we set off in the future, now that I've got plenty of spare fuel to actually give it some. So this thing hasn't got any landing pads, so I'm just going to bring it in sort of near here so that I can just pull it apart. Shouldn't get hit by anything because it's in the shade again, so it should be perfectly safe just to abandon this vehicle around here, leave it running and see if we can locate the reactor. That shouldn't be too much trouble. These ships are small enough that most things are easy enough to find. It's just working out if it's on the top or bottom. Probably actually on the bottom, going by the big cargo thing being on the top. So let's have a look. That might be it right there. There we go. So let's take out... Oops, missed it. Let's try again. Take out some of this fuel. Let's say we want 4 of it for the moment. We're just going to dump that straight into this guy. Oops, bouncing around a bit. Now, I didn't set up any actual stuff on this guy in order to help it with distributing its fuel, so unfortunately I do have to manually move it around anytime I want to. So I'm just going to dump 1 in the center, and then I'll split this a bit better, and that will hopefully keep it running quite happily. You may have noticed, as I said last episode, it doesn't run very well power percentage wise because of the thruster on just 3. Might add another one to the gap here that I left for a spare gyroscope, as actually this thing's not got a problem with its ability to navigate. So let's grab some internal plates quickly, as we need a few more of those before we can continue and get onto our hotbar the items that we want to add to this thing now. So we need a refinery, an assembler and a cargo container. Now hopefully, maths being correct, I can fit the large one in, so we will see what happens as we attempt to place things. So first of all, we're going to be placing this guy. Not sure which way up it is at the moment. There we go, that's the correct way up. Oh, I need steel plates to build this guy. Blast. For some reason I thought they all required the internal plates to place, so let's grab that. Get him in place. Get the assembler in place. Now I know a lot of people like to have the assemblers on top of or under the refinery, but personally I'm just going to go for everything in a line. Let's try and get the words the right way up on this guy. So can we see that? It's always a little bit hard to see which way up you've placed things. So there we go, and there's still a gap there, which will help us an awful lot. That's kind of deliberate. I wanted an odd number rather than an even number, so ended up with a gap in the design in my head. But I'm now going to jump cut to me having built this all before we finish up this episode. So see you in a moment. And there you have it. A new station. Done quite a lot. Has taken a couple of hours now to do it, but I've filled in every single block here, and then behind these I've added a bit of a conveyor system, so now things that I put just in the cargo container can move to the assembler and the refinery without a problem. I've also added a couple of reactors. These are connected as well, so they automatically distribute any uranium that goes in there pretty evenly as well. If I just give you a quick glance at that, you'll see this one has about 1.6, this one 1.7. They've done that on their own, so while it's not perfect, it's pretty even. I'm very happy with that. Added a gravity generator so I can actually run around here properly on the ground. Don't have to actually worry about getting the jetpack all the time when I want to do anything, so that is excellent. I just realised that the character can actually move. Sorry, I didn't know that the character could do that. I rarely ever enter third person when I'm out of a ship. So I also added a cockpit here. Let's just have a look. There's only 14 hours of fuel, which is quite low. It's only about 3 kilos of uranium that's in this, but given that literally the only things it's powering are the cockpit and the gravity generator, 14 hours is really not a lot, because I've actually turned these two off. Doesn't matter if I had or hadn't. While they're not doing anything, they don't actually use any power. But to complete this, it required every single block of that other bit of ship, so that used to be over here and is now gone, and a hell of a lot of blocks out of there, as well as both reactors out of that one. So we've had to tear apart an awful lot of things in order to get this done, but the station now is actually taking shape quite nicely. The very basic design here is now complete. I will obviously off camera finish designing this, decorating it, making it look pretty, being the central control room, but the core items that we needed are actually in, so that is absolutely brilliant for us. So I'm incredibly happy with that, you know, really good work. And nothing but mining and military vessels went past in the last couple of hours while I was working, so I didn't have to skip collecting any of the useful vehicles, as none of them actually came past. There's still a few uranium left in that thing, absolutely none left in that, and a pitiful amount left in the mine layer, which is hiding behind the sail, I see. So, not a lot of uranium spare at the moment, going to have to get more soon. If I just show you this, I'm going to pull these apart soon. Not a lot of components in them, unfortunately, just those solar cells take several trips to actually clear out. They are ridiculously heavy. But next thing is to expand this a little bit, add a landing area, because this, if I try and take off vertically, will damage the blocks under it, so I need to add an area made of landing pads in order to actually have shuttles landing safely. That will be added though with the decorating and everything that I'm going to do on this area in a minute. So for now, it's going to be goodbye from me, as I've got a lot of work to do on here, but that won't be until next episode. So I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. As I said last time, please, if you think of one, leave a name for the shuttle, because I'm not naming it myself. That will be named by a submission, so if no one comments again, it will just forever be known as Beacon. You know, I'm fine with that eventuality, but I would love to actually have someone suggest a name as well. So please, if you've got any ideas, leave that in the comments, and if not, then just comment on the series. You know, I'd love to hear from you, so please consider leaving a few words for me if you've got anything you'd like to say. So I'm going to say take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.